Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bosk's Bounty video, and welcome to my first video of 2021. We're kicking it off with the worst first of the vintage collection figures that came out in 2020. I'm only counting figures that came out on their own single card, and I'm not including any of the figures that were a re-release. So none of the repack waves, and we're also not including VC45 Clone Trooper that came out on the very first wave at the beginning of 2021. I will be judging this both on the figure and the card back as a whole, rather than just the figure or just the card back. I know one person in particular in the comments said, how can I judge anything by the card back? It's just the packaging. But if you don't really understand that really the vintage collection is a collector line, and the packaging going all the way back to the vintage era, the vintage Kenner era, if you don't really understand that the packaging means a lot to a lot of people, then I don't really know what I can say. So my rules, I judge this on a figure and card back combo. So for something to be in position 1, top of the list, it has to have both. Alright then, so before we do get into this, if you do happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below. It really does help. And I do hope that you had a good, safe evening last night on New Year's Eve, and that you have an amazing 2021. Alright, let's get straight into this. In 19th place, we have Captain Rex on the Clone Wars card. Now the reason this one is in last place is purely down to the fact that the figure is a repack from the Black Series 3.75. The figure is not great, and we warned Hasbro not to repack this figure, and they went ahead and did it. The card back is okay, it's not amazing, and therefore this figure is in last place. In 18th place, we have Hondo Ohnaka. Now the reason this one is so low down in the list, because I don't think it's an amazing card back. Don't think the drawing's too good there. The figure itself isn't too bad, but he is a repack from the Millennium Falcon, so that sort of counts against it as well. And if I was Hasbro at the time, when I was discussing potentially doing a Hondo Ohnaka figure for the vintage collection, I would have definitely included one from the Clone Wars on a Clone Wars card, rather than trying to sort of push Galaxy's Edge. But that's just my opinion, and that's why Hondo is in 18th place. And in 17th place, we have Clone Commander Wolf. And similar to Rex, this is a repack of a 3.75 inch sculpt, except for the fact that we do have a brand new head sculpt on there and a brand new helmet piece. That's sort of kind of the saving grace about this figure. It is an artist impression image. It isn't too bad, but you know, the body of the figure isn't great. When you look at the ARC Trooper mold, they could have done so much better with both Wolf and Rex, in my opinion, and that is why he is in 17th place. In 16th place, we have the Remnant Stormtrooper, and the fact that this guy is so far down in the list just shows you the quality of what we have actually got this year. Admittedly, we haven't had enough new figures, but the figures that we have had have been of really, really good quality. So this just shows you. I think this guy is further down in the list is because I'm not 100% sure about the weathering that they've done on this guy. I think it's a little bit too yellow. Could almost pass as a Sand Trooper, really, that yellow, couldn't it? But it's a decent figure. Obviously, the sculpt that it's on, that VC140 Rogue One Stormtrooper sculpt, is an amazing sculpt. I just think as I say, the yellow on it is not great. The image on the card back is absolutely fine. I don't think they could have picked a better image than that. It's exactly what you want. But as I say, it just shows you the quality that we have had this year, that this guy is in 16th place. In 15th place, I have the Imperial Stormtrooper that was included in the Carbon Freezing Chamber playset. And that is the downfall for this figure, because I actually do really like the card back. And of course, the figure is very, very good as well. Great helmet sculpt on that guy. But the fact that you had to buy the playset to get this figure is a little bit annoying. He is VC171 for anyone that doesn't know. But yeah, in that playset, I was hoping for an Ugnaught or a Bespin Guard or a Lando. Anything but a Stormtrooper, really. We already had plenty of good Stormtroopers. He wasn't really needed. But I do like the card back. But again, as I'd say, it just shows the quality of figure that we have had this year, that this guy is so low in the list. He is in number 15. In 14th place, we have Darth Vader on the Rogue One card. And this guy it's a good looking card. I think they could have chosen a slightly better image, but I can't moan too much about the image. It is a good looking card. The figure itself, a couple of things that I would have changed. I would have put articulation on his wrists rather than the gloves. And I'm not a massive fan of this plastic skirt underneath I would have preferred that to be soft goods, but that's just my opinion. Some people prefer the plastic. It is a good figure. I love the head sculpt on it. I love the red eyes. It's a good Vader. There's no doubt about it. Better than I thought it was going to be from the pictures. That is for sure. And he's in 14th place. In 13th place, we have Cara Dune from The Mandalorian. She was one of the earlier figures from the year, VC164. And again, there's nothing wrong with this figure at all. It's a really, really good figure. I love the figure, in fact. And I do like the card back. Again, it looks to be sort of like a promo shot rather than something that's been taken straight from the film, which is what I prefer. But it's a great figure. Pains me to put her into 13th place, but there's better figures and better card backs, in my opinion, coming up in the list. As I say, I think we've been quite spoilt this year for the quality rather than the quantity. And that just goes to show with Cara Dune being so low in the list. She's in 13th place. In 12th place, we have K2SO from Rogue One. This guy was VC170. And, you know, what a phenomenal figure this one is. I mean, this really should possibly be higher up in the list. But when you see the figures that we've got coming up, it's very difficult to be able to get into the top 10. K2SO, brilliant image on the card back, one of my favourites. I actually watched Rogue One the other night and I stay with my opinion that it's a great Star Wars film. I absolutely love it, and he is one of the best characters from that film. Comedic value is very, very good. He's just an all-round great character, and the improvement this guy has on the 5POA version cannot be underestimated. It is a very, very good figure. Just not good enough to be in my top 10 for the year though, which says a lot. Number 11 in the list is ARC Trooper 5s from the Clone Wars. Now, everybody knows my feelings about these figures. They are amazing figures, and this one gets let down by the card back. I think the card back could have been so much better. He's even missing the tattoo on his head for the figure. You know, it's ARC Trooper 5s. Where's the little tattoo on his forehead? He's missing that. They've gone for that whole mixture of realistic and animated, which is fine. They've done that for some of the other cards. I just think they could have done a better job with this card overall. It does look very, very drawn, as it were, which is kind of how it should be really for the Clone Wars. I admit that. He is VC172, but he does have the fact that he is a repack from the ARC Trooper 3 pack. Still a great figure though, obviously, but could have done better with a card back on that one. Moving into the top 10, and in 10th place we have the Mandalorian, the Beskar Mandalorian. This is one of the very newest figures that we have, VC181, and probably a lot of people are going to be surprised that this is so far down my list. You know, it's in 10th place. A lot of people have probably got this figure as figure of the year, but I truly believe that they've got the paint job wrong on the Beskar pieces of his armour. It's far too silver for my liking. And to be honest, the card back, they could have just done so much better with that one. The card back is better than the Mandalorian build-up pack one with the child, but it's still not a great image. It's very, very dark. With all the images that they could have chosen for the Mandalorian, they could have done a much better card back than this. And as for the figure, as I say, don't get me wrong, it is a great, great figure, but I just think they've got the paint job wrong. And there's other figures that I prefer that have come out this year. In 9th place, we have the Power Droid on the Star Wars card. And I just think this was a great move by Hasbro, not only to give us the one of the remaining 96 that they've still got to give us from the original Kenner line, but to base the figure on the original Kenner figure, the Power Droid from Luke's homestead. And I think they did a fantastic job with it. It's that kind of bluey grey colour with his little antennas and everything, but on the classic card back, which is obviously the Power Droid from the Sandcrawler. VC167. I love this thing. It's of course the figure isn't as good as like a highly articulated Mandalorian figure, but from nostalgia alone, the Power Droid is a great figure, and he's in 9th place. In 8th place, we have the Din Djarin stroke Mandalorian on the Mandalorian card with the inclusion of the child and all the other accessories. This is the Walmart exclusive. He is VC177. And the reason why this isn't further up in my list is because the card back kills it for me. It's a terrible card back. I've talked about it before. It's out of focus. It's just not a great card back at all. The figure itself is a phenomenal figure, and if it was just being judged on the figure alone, it would be much higher in the list. But I'm doing this as a combo, as I mentioned. And for me, for inbox collectors, it just ruins it. One thing I do like is the sticker. I think that looks great. And of course, you do get the little head in there to change for the head swap. And I do prefer this figure to the actual Beskar Mandalorian. I prefer it because of the battle damage. It sort of masks the fact that the silver is a bit too silver. And in fact, I think the one on this one isn't as bright silver. So this one wins in that sort of race. But for me, there are better figure and card back combos this year. So for you inbox collectors and loose collectors, there's like a better combo out there. As I said, if it was just for the figure alone, it would be much, much higher. But the card back lets it down. In 7th place, we have the other VC177. It's the Incinerator Trooper, again on a Mandalorian card. Lots of Mandalorian figures this year, obviously. And I just love this figure for 2 reasons. One, it uses the VC140 sculpt. Excellent figure. I love the paintwork on the figure. Nice accessories, and also the card back image. Although that does look like an artist's impression, it is kind of from the film where he walks through the door and blasts them all out with the fire. It's a decent looking card back. And I just think the red and white of the Incinerator Trooper against the yellow name pill and the backdrop there looks great. One of my favourites of the year, and he is in 7th place. In 6th place, we have Chirrut Imwe from Rogue One, and this figure for me is one of the standout figures of the year. The card back as well is just glorious, straight from the movie, that image there, and the figure is just brilliant. I did a review of this figure, and the poses that you can get this guy into are just unbelievable. If you want to have a look at some of the ranges of poses that you can get this into, then I advise you to check out bantherskull.com's review of it on their website. They've got a host of images on there, and man, the poses you can get this guy into is awesome. VC174, very, very pleased to get some Rogue One characters this year, and Chirrut Imwe is one of my favourite characters from the film as well, so that does help. But I just think they've nailed the figure completely, and the card back just looks great. So he, for me, deserves to be in 6th place. Alright then, so moving up into the top 5, we have in 5th place the Armourer from The Mandalorian once again. And this, for me, the combo of the card back and the figure just wins it for me. Superb card back. Now, even though that card back isn't officially a scene from the movie, it does look like a still that was taken on set, if you were. So it's not a drawing, it's not an artist's impression or anything like that. I guess you could call it a promo image, but there isn't anything sort of too staged about it. It looks very natural, and I do like her furnace in the background. It gives the card some character, and the figure is phenomenal as well. It's a great, great figure. There's nothing too wrong or any complaints I can have too much about the figure. The neck might be a little bit too long. Check out my review of that figure if you're wondering what I'm talking about. But I mean, look at the detail on the figure. Fantastic. I was looking forward to this one, and it didn't disappoint. VC179, and the Armourer is in 5th place. In 4th place, we have Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise. I don't really need to explain why this one's so high up in the list. It's a great figure. It doubles as a Stormtrooper. The card back is from the original Power of the Force card back in 1984-85. 169, VC169. Just a phenomenal card back and just a great figure. I guess the only thing that could let this down is it's officially a figure from 2019, but the actual single release on card back came out in 2020. Who doesn't like Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper outfit? It's a great figure, great card back, and that's why he's in 4th place. Right then, into the top 3 now, and in 3rd place we have Moff Gideon. He is obviously the bad guy from The Mandalorian, and this guy is in 3rd place mainly because of the figure. The card back, they could have picked a better image, I've got to admit, but they needed to get that Darksaber in there, and he's standing there on top of his crashed TIE fighter. It is a bit dark. If the image wasn't so dark and you could see him a little bit better, it would be a much better card back. But this guy's so high up in the list for the figure, and the figure is just a great figure. We finally get the bad guy from The Mandalorian, and they didn't disappoint with this figure. It is a phenomenal figure. I love it to bits, and I think it probably wins Head Sculpt of the Year as well. It's much better than the Black Series Moff Gideon in my opinion. It's probably up there with the ARC Trooper Jesse head sculpt with the big tattoo on his bald head. It really just looks like the character that it's supposed to be, and the only thing that probably lets it down is the cape. Could have been a soft goods cape, but I just think they've done an amazing job with this figure, and it's one of my favourites of the year, hence why he's in third place, and that's VC 180. And in second place we have the Mandalorian, the original Mandalorian, when he was in his old armour. Seems like a lifetime ago, but we did only get this figure in sort of March, April time of 2020. He is VC166. And for me, this is the best Mandalorian. I prefer this armour. I wish he was in this armour a little bit longer than he was in the show. I think he looks super cool. Amazing articulation, just the same as the other two Mandalorians that we have. But I think the card back as well. This image was given to us as like a promo shot before we knew anything about the program and what it was going to be like, and he just looked super cool, and the figure just did not disappoint whatsoever. He's in second place for me. Figure and card back absolutely phenomenal. So let's see who is number one in my worst to first figures of 2020. And in first place we have Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, and could it really have been anyone else, especially in my list? This, for me, is the best figure and card back of 2020. He is VC175. And yes, technically he is a figure from 2019 from that Jedi Destiny 3-pack, but he didn't come out on a single card on his card back until 2020. So essentially he is a 2020 figure. As I said, VC175. And for figure and card back combo, I don't think you can top this. This is number one for me. That card back is one of the best card backs in the whole of the original vintage Kenner line, in my opinion. And for them to bring it back finally for the vintage collection with such a great figure as well. And also, him turning up in the Mandalorian sealed the deal. He probably would have won this for me anyway. It is my favourite figure and card back in the vintage collection from 2020, but the fact that he appeared in the Mandalorian has just taken it to another level for me, and that is why he is in first place of my worst to first of the vintage collection figures and card backs from 2020. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to know who your worst and your first are in the comment section. Let me know. And I'm sure you'll disagree with mine, and that's what's great about opinions. But let me know in the comments because I do want to know. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and we shall see you on the next one.